Howdy y'all, Fast Force 289, welcome back. In this video, this is a quick tip video. Do you have a 73 to 79 Ford truck with factory air conditioning, and then all of a sudden you develop a vacuum leak? You hear it in the dash, right? I had that problem with my 76. It's got factory air, all original, and I've been hearing that it has a vacuum leak in the dash. So I'm gonna turn the camera around, I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this is my dash as this moment. I went ahead and tore it apart because I was looking to find out what the problem was on these old Ford trucks with factory air. So what mine was doing was it would have a vacuum leak on off vent AC, H low, heat, but then it would stop on heat, floor, and defrost. Or I'm sorry, yeah, between the two and then just regular defrost. It would stop, it would go away. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking around, I've checked back here on all my vacuum connections, because these are all vacuum lines here. It's all vacuum controlled switches here. Vacuum switch up here. I checked all this, that was good. I checked the one below it, and that one was good. But it was still leaking. So I started looking around in the dash. And right down here, if you look at that vacuum pod, you can see where there's a nipple that's broke off. Right there, that white piece, right where my shadow is, you see that white piece? It looks like it's kind of like somewhat broke. Well, there was a hose dangling right here, just sitting here loose. That hose is this one right here. It's a black hose with a blue stripe. There's nothing broke off inside, so I'm not real sure. I think what happened is when I installed this radio and I was pulling some things loose, I had an FM converter mounted underneath here. And I think maybe it got hung on the wire or something when I was pulling stuff loose and it broke that nipple off. Now, what that nipple does, I can't really find a reason for it. That line there connects and it's still connected. But as far as what that white nipple on that vacuum actuator does, I don't know. Because when I plug off that hose and I start activating these switches, I don't feel any vacuum being pulled from that. I put my finger over that broke off plastic nipple piece. There's no vacuum being pulled from it. I don't hear it leaking, so I don't know. As far as what this hose here does though, it needs to be plugged off or put back. What I'm probably gonna end up doing is I will cut the end of this hose off, because you can see how it's kind of like flared out from where it's been pressed on there over all the years. I will cut it off and have a nice new smaller diameter fitting, so then the hole will be smaller. And I will press it back on there because it does fit. I stuck it up there just to see, and it will stay. But since that one's got that like flare out on it, I'll cut a new one off and make it tighter. If it pops off again, I'm just going to plug that hose off, because I'll show you what it does. I'm going to show you the sound that it makes when it's leaking. So I don't know how well that picks up on video, but you could probably hear it. Now, if you listen, watch, I'm gonna turn it off, and it gets even louder. You can really hear it. If you come down here, it goes away. So that's definitely the culprit. But I'll show you what I was talking about, how it does it in every one of them except these last two. So it does it on that one. It does it on AC. So I don't know how well you can hear it, but it is doing it. I can hear it. It does it real bad on that one. And then it goes away. Completely stops on the last two. And this is just to show you what that hose actually does. If I plug it off, you can see that door open, and that just lets air in on the floor. Do that, and now there's no air coming out on the floor. That's all it does. So anyway, that's the problem that I found, and that's why I'm gonna cut that end off and I'm gonna hook it back to that nipple. Now, It doesn't matter if you I could just take like a golf tee and shove up in the vacuum hose, and that'll plug it off, and then that'll still work, because you see I just held the hose and it closed the door like it's supposed to. As I said, I don't know if that white nipple on that vacuum canister is just a plug, because it doesn't seem to really do anything. Whenever because I plugged off that vacuum line, put my finger over that white nipple to see if I could feel any vacuum pull, or maybe an air coming through. Nothing. It didn't matter where I set it at. It had nothing. So I don't know if that was just a factory like plug, so to speak, which why even have it? I don't know. But, well, I know why, because of the door, but I mean, so I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the end of that off. Like I said, I'm going to stick it back on there. It stays. If it does pop off, now I know what it is. All I got to do is reach up underneath the dash, pull it down, and I'll take a golf tee or something and shove in the hose, and it's plugged off. That's the only drawback to these trucks with the factory air. There's a lot of vacuum lines. And you got to figure the whole entire heating and AC system is strictly vacuum actuated, except for with the exception of, I believe it's the temperature control, that it still has a metal cable running to it to actuate something. But other than that, you know, it's all vacuum actuated, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, it's kind of cool how it works, all vacuum. But at the same time, when you have these little problems, especially when they get age on it. Now, granted, this truck it's a rare breed. This truck is like it just rolled out of the showroom floor. Like, everything in the dash is clean, but still with age, plastic don't hold up. And like I said, it might be my fault when I installed this radio. I might have got snug on something. But so I'm gonna do that real quick. Also, one thing I checked was this vacuum canister here. That's what this does. This holds vacuum for the heater system. This big hose here wraps around and it goes all the way to the intake, right down there, that bottom hose. The smaller one here goes inside the truck and feeds the vacuum. That's how that works. Now, yeah, you could just block this off, but I don't want to block it off. You know, I could take it loose from the intake and plug it. I don't want to do that, because then my heater won't work. You got to have the vacuum for all the heater controls to work, so I don't want to do that. But I was checking out here to make sure, because this is plastic, you know, I make sure it didn't crack and it was leaking, or maybe a vacuum line was cracked out here with the engine heating on, you know. But all these are still good. All right, so you can look in here and you can see where I pushed that back on there. I pushed it back on there good and tight. It's not going to interfere with anything after I put everything back together, so that's good. Let's crank it up and see how she sounds. Yeah, she's nice and quiet. And the good thing is, once that's on there, that is drawing vacuum all the time, except for, like I said, when it's on heat / defrost, or just plain defrost. So it's going to hold itself there while it's going down the road. So it shouldn't come off. But again, if it does, a quick fix for that: get you an old golf tee, shove up in the hose and cut the end of it off, and it's fine. It'll stop the leak anyway. And yeah, so if we go through the motion, you see it's nice and quiet now. It does like it's supposed to. It's always made that sound when it's switching in between, but then it clears up just like it did. Heat, and then of course defrost. And if we look down here, that rod is moving like it's supposed to move that door for the floor. And another good way to test to see if it's actually holding vacuum is to put it on about high-low, because it pulls, like I say, any of them. You can put it on any of them, but I put it on high-low. Because in the winter I always run high-low, in the summer obviously AC. I hardly ever run just plain defrost or heat. You know, it's always high-low for me. But I do that, feel it coming out, shut the truck off, sit here and wait a few minutes, and then see if it holds vacuum. And you'll know, because when you move this off, you should hear it go psh. If it don't hold vacuum, it won't do anything, which is what it was doing before. I'd wait, go to off, and it wouldn't do anything. So let's see. Beautiful. So now we're back to normal. And it's that easy. Alrighty guys, that's it. We're good to go. I just want to give that quick little tip for you. I didn't do a step-by-step of how to look for it and all that because, to be honest with you, when it comes to vacuum leaks, it can be quite tedious at times. I spent probably 30 minutes out here just checking connections, making sure everything was all right. So I finally looked down in the dash and I could see, actually I crawled up underneath the dash to kind of take a look underneath to see if there was anything popped off like that or whatever. And I seen that hose just sitting there. I was like, huh, well, look at there. And that's how I found it. So, and then also, since these lines are so old, it's usually easy to tell where they once were because they'll have like a mold of the shape they've been in. That's how I was able to tell that it went there. Even though that nipple was like half broke off or whatever, it's still stuck. There's enough there, it's staying. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. Like I said, if it falls off, I will just shove a golf tee in it. But with these old lines, with new lines, you know how when they're new, they haven't formed yet. But they've been sitting here for almost 50 years. They formed to whatever shape they're going to be in. They're very soft vacuum lines, which is it's a good thing, which most vacuum lines are soft. But these are really soft lines they use from the factory, which is a good thing. It helps keep them pliable. But so with that, that's how I found out where it went. Just look at the shape of it, and it'll pretty much fall back in place of where it needs to be, you know, which it was already kind of laying there. It just from where it was at, it just fell down. So, but that's how that is. And also another reason I didn't do a step-by-step is because there ain't no room in this dash. That's why I just showed you a before and after of how I fixed it. It's that simple. And so I just want to give this quick tip because if you have one of these trucks and you got factory error, you might be wondering, where's the vacuum leak coming from? How do you find it? You know, I don't know, I haven't counted, but there's at least 10 vacuum lines, I would say. I know there's 3 on the top, maybe not 10, but I know there's 3 on the top, and I think there's 4 on the bottom. So, you know, you're looking at like 7 lines at least. You know, you got 6 to 8 lines in there, vacuum lines running. So that's it can be tedious if you're not sure what the problem is. And sometimes it's little fixes like that. Anyway, I've rambled on enough here. I just want to give you that quick tip. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I'd appreciate that as always as well. And I appreciate it. And I thank each and every one of y'all each and every day for watching and subscribing. Can't tell you how much that means to me. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the drop box down below, and I'll get back to you as always. And I will see you on the next one. So thanks for watching. Take care.